You know, it's one of those things, right? Like, just to start it off, it's one of those things. Haven't done this in a fortnight and just trying to get back into the swing of it. I'm sitting here like, oh, I'm nervous. But then, you know, the guest is nervous. And it's like, no, I'm more nervous than you.
So calm it down, Alex. You've done this how many times now? What, is this episode 110?
Yeah, 110. Oh, my God. I'm still nervous. So tonight we got Zac White. Yeah. White. Yeah. I was going to say Wild for some reason. But
sometimes.
Yeah. And then so you go underneath a DJ named WHYZE as well, right?
Yeah. So that was a collaboration. It was actually supposed to be like, just didn't really like Zac White as a DJ name. So I tried to kind of like mash together a bit of my last name, a little bit of my first name, and then just kind of had it on paper. It was originally like WHYZA, and it didn't really look right, so I kind of just switched it around.
Yeah,
it was bizarre. It just kind of stuck with WHYZE. Plus, you know, I'm a big philosophy fan and everything as well, so I kind of just tied in with that.
Nice. Yeah, we'll get into philosophy later.
Plenty of time with that.
And Mitch is back as well for these couple of episodes.
Hi.
Damo's picked up full-time work by the sounds of it, so he's in and out now of the podcast room.
Congratulations, Damo. Now I have to fucking do everything.
So he's back being the Jaimie in the bitch seat. So I'm going to be telling you, Mitch.
Careful, I can control this whole show, mate.
No.
I can bring this all down now.
No, don't bring it down. Please don't bring it down.
I'm not Joe Rogan's Jaimie, all right?
You're my Jaimie.
I put my foot down.
So you're a DJ, you make events as well. You're a co-founder of Restless by the sounds of it as well.
Yeah, me and my business partner Daniel, we started Restless in October. So that was our little project that we started. Got to move it over a little bit.
It's like every episode.
We'll remind you every episode to lean into the
microphone. He didn't remind you this episode though.
But yeah, we started this one in October. So we've got 4 events under our belt at the moment. We've got a few in the works at the coming up for April, May. And we were also supposed to do New Year's, but unfortunately, you know, as with everybody, that kind of got shut down.
Yeah, New Year's sucked everywhere.
Right. We still made the most of it elsewhere, but you know, it was really bad for all the events, and especially for us. You know, it was a really good opportunity. We were going to do like a full takeover at the Rechabite where we host all of our other events.
So like multiple stage thing.
Yeah, it was. It was going to be in the basement and on the roof, but yeah, unfortunately, like a couple of days beforehand, they just pulled it all.
That's exactly it. And then no one went out. And it was just dead everywhere, and everyone was just having house parties and partying at home. So
yeah, that's right. The house party invites came out pretty shortly afterwards.
The underground scene's been doing really well with the lockdowns and stuff like that. I feel like we've everybody's not been able to go out on some weekends, and so that's sort of overflowed into the underground scene.
And honestly, I feel like I kind of came in at that point where COVID really did actually help in the sense of me DJing and stuff. My first ever time I played in a club was at the Geisha Open House, just before the first time we locked down and shut down all the clubs.
Just before?
Yeah, literally. I think it was the weekend before. So, you know, I've gone home and then they've popped up on the news and I'm sitting there going, I was just hugging everybody. Oh my God.
Well, I guess it was a good send-off for the first lockdown.
It was, yeah. It was literally the last weekend they were open. So then after that, they were shut for ages. And then when the open house came up again in October, I jumped on it again, and then ever since then, I guess because we haven't had internationals, we haven't had interstates, a lot more of these local DJs have been getting the chance to actually move up, you know?
It's so good because they practice through the lockdowns and then they're like, I'm ready, I'm club ready, give us a go.
Don't worry, there's a few clips of me out on my old balcony sitting there just, you know, pumping it to the car park.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, more than a few, that's true.
So how did you get into DJing and music and the whole wonderful scene we have in Perth?
Yeah, well, I mean, I came into it quite late. I mean, I guess, you know, there's a lot of people that have been in it for a long time, and a lot of people come in and started when they were 18. But, you know, for myself, I moved to Perth when I was 18, and I didn't actually I probably went clubbing 5 times between the age of 18 and 24.
Only 5 times. For me, like I went out there and I was like, this is where I want to be. Like,
look, at the time, it was a very different part of my life as well, you know, like I had a very poor idea of what the music scene was like, what clubbing was like. I'm originally from Albany, so you know there's only one club down there, and,
one hell of a club there. What's it called again?
I believe it's called Studio 146. And I mean, look, at the time I was, you know, young, and I've been there a few times, but you know, I guess at the time I was really into hip hop, like especially Australian hip hop, and there was no place that they were playing that. So I didn't really get into it that much. And
just
I
curiously, when you were younger in Albany, what were they playing at?
Just would have been top 40, right?
Oh, I mean, look, I probably went in there. The first time I ever got rejected from that nightclub was on my 18th birthday.
First time
on your 18th birthday, what, were you too drunk or something?
Nah, they just saw my ID and realized that I wasn't turning 18 until midnight, so they made me wait out the front.
Are you kidding? Oh, I guess that's
lame.
I guess
old,
that's
like,
the law, but
licking
it's
stamps, you know?
that's ridiculous though.
Yeah, but it was like, yeah, it's very just. I mean, they've only got the one club, so you obviously have to cater for everybody. So it's just the commercial kind of music that you would hear anywhere, and yeah, it wasn't really my thing at the time, so I just never really got into it. Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say, since it's Albany, it's so far from everything. Like, I've just started doing the mines, and I'm with a guy who actually lives in Albany, and he's just told me like that club, everyone just like it's just the same shit over and over because they don't know any. Well, they do from Spotify and this and that, but at the same time, it's like
there's just no options.
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
And that's the problem. I think it's going to be like that. I mean, I've been to a nightclub up in Geraldton when that was there. I think they've changed it now.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like you have to cater for so many different people. Whereas when you come to Perth, and I think this is a big reason why I got into it, because you do have these niche clubs, places that do just play house music or do just play drum and bass. There are even hip hop and rap clubs. I mean, not that I've necessarily been there in a long time, but
it was one of the hip hop rap places. In
exactly.
Is it hip hop? I thought it was more top 40, like kid
they've
music.
got a hip hop stage,
But like Butterfly, though, for example, that's like all hip hop and like that kind of stuff, R&B and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a lot of stuff. Whereas I guess when you've got only one place to do it, they kind of have to play a lot of everything. So it's a lot of just like commercial top 40
a lot of Kanye and a lot of ABBA.
Has a lot of potential though. I mean, especially when you are the only nightclub in town, you can really get but the
owner would be raking it in because I got nowhere else to go.
He definitely is. But yeah, I moved to Perth when I was 18 and kind of just like, I didn't really do it, at the time I was doing the whole stay at home, kind of just focusing on my career kind of thing. I was working in food distribution. But then when I was, so there's a DJ that used to DJ in Perth, his DJ name was Jack, and I was just mates with him outside of the scene. And I remember the first time I actually ever even heard house music was him teaching himself how to DJ in the laundry with just like a tiny little controller and like a YouTube video. And like before, I never even heard it before. And I was just like, like, what is this, And then he invited me and we started to go to, these old events like the gathering that they used to hold at Nevermind, Deviance events, we went to the boat parties and the house parties for that. And yeah, like I think it was finding a music that I could get into, and I didn't really have any. I'd never even really heard it before. And then just like straight away, I just kind of came into it. And as well, being friends with someone who was just coming up in the scene at the time, he did really take off really quickly. And it was like really good to kind of watch your mate grow in that sense.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well, because he started off in his laundry. That's a pretty cool way to start. But at the same time, because if he's from the country as well, right?
No, this was in Perth. So
he was in Perth. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, just met him in Perth, like just through friends. Like I'd been in Perth for like 6 years at this time, So just kicking about, doing like a completely different, like unsavory behavior and unsavory characters, so doing other stuff. But it was like once I found it, and then I guess a big thing for me was coming into the house scene. Like it is very much like you can see the community there. I feel like when you're going to nightclubs and you're going to places that play a niche type of music, you're there more for the music. You're not going there just because it's the only place to go out and just because, you just want to go and, get drunk and do whatever you want to do.
That's it.
There is more involvement there. The DJs. It's a different...
It's just
a different scene.
That's it. It's almost completely different way, because like going to your average pub and then it's just like all you hear is pub tunes and people just go and have dinner and then they get on the piss and this and that. But it's like actually going to a specific venue for that specific genre, and that's the only genre that they might dabble in a few other genres, but it's the community side of it. That's what just makes it in a way.
100%. And like even I think maybe this is just me being naive, but once I got into the house scene, it was you started to notice things like who the DJs were. I never can ever remember a time where I went to a nightclub before I was in the scene and I actually knew who was playing. A lot of the time, you know, with these mainstream clubs and stuff as well, it's just one DJ playing all night.
Yeah.
You know, so it's more about the environment there, whereas this was more about, like you said, the community, more about the artists, more about, you know, seeing these people grow. You know?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, hey, don't get me wrong, he definitely tried to get me on the decks plenty of times, but yeah, it was always one of those things where I just looked at it, and I'm sure as many people do, you look at the decks, you see all the knobs and the buttons,
you're just like, what do those do?
Too much for me,
Too complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at the time I was more than happy with my Xbox controller, and I just wanted to sit back, and that was enough buttons for me.
So when was your breakout moment? When did you like go, this is for me? Like, when was the aha moment?
Mate, this is one of those moments that sticks with me forever, you know?
It sticks with everyone. Like, I could list mine off as well.
Yeah, so so it was, I believe it was Movement's 4th birthday, when they were still at Nevermind there, and, you know, I was been there since 2 p.m, was in a pretty good state.
As you do.
As you do. And, you know, celebrating the birthday, I was all dressed up in colourful clothes and stuff.
Nice, nice.
I remember it was Ace Basic played, I believe it was Kolunga by Second City. And I don't know what it was. It just hit me at that moment. And I literally just kind of like stood up from my dance, walked away, and I was like, I'm going to do it. And quite literally the next day I had an ounce of gold that I got given for my birthday, like when I was 21. And took it in, traded it in, and
an ounce of gold.
An ounce of gold, yeah. And I took it in and
damn,
traded.
Okay.
Yeah, traded it. Got all my equipment. So I bought like a tractor setup, bought everything I needed to do.
Tractor.
A whole bunch of, and yeah, started on tractor. So like did that for a year, and yeah, for me it was also like, you know, I guess as you're getting a little bit older, you know, I never really got into the club scene when I was younger. As I kind of, you know, reached my mid to late 20s, I was kind of thinking, you know, I can't sit here and just keep writing myself off all the time, you know, so like, what am I going to do with my time? And then, you know, once I actually realized that I enjoy DJing and that I wanted to push that more, it kind of gives me a reason to, you know, still be out there every weekend and not feel guilty about feeling so rough on Sundays, you know?
Did you ever watch like many tutorials, or did you watch other people and how they mix or anything like that? Like, how did you pick up your style to be able to actually do it?
It was your mate, right? He taught you how to DJ.
Well, I mean, look, he tried, you know.
It's just like, this does that, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, look, there was a few times, you know, I could still remember once we had a kick on, I jumped on the decks and like, you know, everyone was dancing, I was like, yeah, oh good, I can do this, it's not that. And then just still grooving in my headphones, and then someone come and tap me on the shoulder and like, you know, you've pulled the track out. So, you know, I had no idea what I was doing.
You'd be surprised though how little punters care about your mistakes as a DJ.
Well, that's exactly it.
And
It
that's
shows
the
the
most
human.
intimidating thing as a new DJ, right?
Yeah,
Well,
that's exactly it.
Yeah,
Well,
and
you go.
as you learn, the thing I always say is like, it's, you know, the DJ's curse. Like once you get to that point, it's like you're not necessarily critiquing, but it jars you a lot more because you're always listening for your mistakes. So it's almost like a habit when you hear it and you're on the dance floor and someone does make a mistake, you're like, ooh. And then, but then I guess that's the whole thing with DJs. It's not the mistakes, it's how quickly do you fix them, you know?
Yeah.
Some people just, you can watch them and they just let it ride out and you're like, come on, man, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But, you know, if you can find something and you can identify that mistake and then fix it straight away, I guess that's where the real skill, you know, kind of comes into play.
But it's also just one of those things where it's like, if you do make little mistakes or this and that, I mean, you're aware of it, but then the crowd aren't aware of it. But then if you do make a mistake and the crowd are aware of it, then it shows that it's like, well, you know, he's not just playing, pressing play on one song that's actually like 4 songs in one. It's actually like, you know, you're actually trying to do it proper. Like,
and that's the thing is like, even for me, I had that misconception, you know, it was always like, oh, surely they just stand up there and it's like DJ Spotify, you know, it just like mixes it to the next one.
That's it, one after the other. Yeah.
And then you jump on it for the first time and you're just, you know, like, I've still got videos where I've like put my phone up on the thing and, you know, I've on my little tractor controller teaching myself how to DJ, and even still now I'm like, how did you like let that go? But like, to answer the question of how I taught myself, it was literally just trial and error, you know, like one of the things I do is like a WHYZE Wednesdays, which is a SoundCloud mix that I've been putting up every Wednesday since about
Sam was not Sam, was it Sam, the guy who referred me on to you?
Cam.
Cam.
So yeah, he's done one for me as well, you know. So
he was telling me about that actually.
I started it so literally 4 weeks after I grabbed the decks. I had no you know, no training or anything, just taught myself. And once I thought, you know, okay, I can get half an hour together without sounding terrible, I just put it on SoundCloud. It was more like a I guess more like a diary for myself of like progression, you know?
It's good. It's a really good way to do it, though.
143 mixes you've got in here.
Yeah.
40 hours.
Nice.
40 hours of mixes.
But that's so good, though, because then you look back on it. That's your resume in a way as well.
Well, I mean, look, you listen to some of those first ones and...
But it shows the growth, though. That's the biggest thing. It shows the growth. Because, like, I remember Cam telling me about that, and I was like, well, I do the same thing. I say it often, I guess, but I have my Mixcloud account, and every venue I play at, I record my set. Because when I first started actually like playing out and about and stuff, I'd listen to it as soon as I go home, like re-listen to it and just learn, like, you know, be able to go, okay, I stuffed up there, I stuffed up here. No one else knew, but I knew, so then I'm not going to do that next time.
And I think, like similar thing. Yeah, it's like a pride thing, you know. Like you can go through those mixes, man. Like in those 144, I can guarantee you, there's some that have not had a single listen on them, you know. And it just goes to that. It's just that thing of, I'm a very kind of like pick it up, put it down person. You know, I do find it very difficult to like stay on these long-term tasks. So like, you know, for me, it's almost like a deadline that I've given myself. And out of those 144, well, there's 144 is coming tomorrow. I've got I've got Shroom doing that one for me because I'm starting to kind of move into like the
something that I think Triplet was trying to start something called. What you call it, dim sum trolley or something like that?
Yeah, it was like
where she was getting guest DJs on to DJ,
and that's what I want to do. You know, like I want to be able to like have it as, you know, people can say like, oh, I haven't heard this person, you know, before. Like there's a mix on there, Groma. You know, he's like my brother-in-law, and he did it for. It was like the first time that he ever actually had a mix on SoundCloud. You know,
oh wow.
So like it was really good to, you know, even just give him a platform, and you know, like that's one of the highest listens ones that I've got. You know, I do find that the ones that are the guests do attract more because, you know, if you got them sharing it and saying, you know, I want to do this, but then it also allows those people to come see their mates and then go, okay, there's other people here as well, you know. So I got like I said, I got Shroom doing one tomorrow, and then I've had, you know, a couple of other Restless guys do it. I had Cam do one for me as well. So I mean, shout
out Cam if he's watching.
That's right. So I'd like, you know, there's still a lot of them are me, but you know, you also get to that point where, you know, they're all an hour long. It's 144 hours of, you know, me. So like,
so then with that do they do the first? Do you do the first half hour? Or they do the first half hour, or how does it work?
Yeah, like when it's a guest mix, I try and just get it to just however they want to do it. You know, like for us, and even going back to the Restless thing, it's all about like letting people kind of express what they want to do. You know, like every mix that I've had, I've said to them, play whatever you want. You know, and it's like it's promoting yourself. You know, like at the end of the day,
Cam's in the chat now.
Hi, Cam.
That's what I'm saying, Cam. But yeah, I've got, you know, like I think there's only 10 maybe that are like guest mixes so far, but you know, like they all have a little bit different. You know, our friend Dan, you know, he played like more party tunes kind of thing. Cam did a more melodic kind of thing, and then, you know, I've got like Dan and stuff that have done.
Have you ever thought about live streaming?
Well, yeah, you know, another thing that I wanted to move into as well, like it is really something that I kind of had always like done as like a regular thing, and I just thought, you know, live streaming is one of those things that I can use to grow on it, you know.
Yeah.
But like I said, it has always been that thing of, you know, I'm not necessarily like putting it out there and, you know, trying to get heaps of listens, but like I said, it just keeps me consistent, you know.
That's
like
it.
It's one of those things that I have genuinely not missed a single week. I think there's been once where I posted it the next day.
Nice. Have you ever had any problems with the copyright or anything like that? Because like,
the only time I've ever had a copyright infringement or anything like that is on Facebook. But I mean, as you would know, you know, you can kind of just claim fair use as long as you credit the person. Which, so what I started doing about, I'm going to say maybe about 70 episodes in, is I started clipping like 30 seconds out of the mix that I enjoyed or a song that I like, and then I'd also like track ID that song, you know.
Yeah.
So you get the fact that you get to actually hear which one it is, and I don't play the same genre all the time as well. And, you know, probably frustrating for the listeners, but it's just episode whatever number it is, you know. So sometimes I could be playing like, you know, completely just
it's just however you feel, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it's less like heavy techno, sometimes it's like minimal house, sometimes it's normal house, you know. A lot of the time if I play a gig or something, I'll just name it an episode and then just give it like a sub name of whatever that gig was, you know.
Jay Hockley's just said, I remember when you started, always kept going, even played with your arm in a sling.
That's true.
You even played with your arm in a sling,
yeah. So
hey, go on.
Yeah, that was a good one. So I got the scar to prove that. But basically, what happened was, well, give you a bit of backstory. Essentially, when I was younger, I was epileptic, and then when I was 14, I stopped having seizures, and just carried on with my life. And when I was 24, they came back and then went away again. And then when I was 26, they just popped up again out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And when they happened when I was 26, one of the seizures, unfortunately, I was at the office, and I've fallen and like landed and smashed my nose on the wall, and I dislocated my shoulder, and I had to end up getting like a full shoulder surgery to fix it up. And yeah, like at the time I was like really, really hungry for like everything that was going on, and I got offered a gig at Geisha, and there's actually video of me sitting there like with my arm in a sling, and I'm just kind of like playing.
That's like, so good though, just one hand warrior.
Yeah, Black Coffee vibes, So yeah, it was like I still was able to do it a little bit. Luckily it was the shoulder, but I was pretty much just at home. I was not supposed to do anything for 6 weeks, so even luckily for those 4 weeks, even for my own mix, I pre-recorded a couple, and I also got some other people to come and do guest mixes for me,
Yeah.
But I just I couldn't do it any longer, I needed to get behind the decks after 4 weeks of not mixing. I mean, my housemate
Someone needs to invent an AI that can just do it all.
No, don't do that.
That's the sync button. But like, I get to that point now where it's like, my housemate will tell you he is absolutely sick of me playing. Like, even still to this day, I've been mixing now for 2 years, putting up this mix, 2.5 years, and still every single day. Like, well, maybe not every day. We'll go every second day.
My family used to get really annoyed when I made mixes as well, but I just headphone, no monitors or anything. I just all go through the headphones, and I would just hope to hell that it sounded good in the mix after.
See, I've done this thing recently to kind of like counteract that for him. I say it's a no headphone household, right? So it's like whatever
these are the rules.
Yeah, whatever we're
you gonna live here, you gonna live the high life.
Like if you're mixing it a kick on or anything, I'll always say it's a no headphone household, because the other thing as well is I feel like a lot of the time you still want to cue your tracks, but I mean, if you're just messing around in a kick on, like a lot of the time you can just bring it in, and it kind of, for me, I've found that it's really trained me to help pick up on my mistakes a lot quicker, because you're kind of hearing it as you're bringing it in. You have to be more careful of it, so yeah, it's a lot more like quick on that.
What type of preparation do you do for these mixes? Do you like have like Monday you go and search for new tracks, or then Tuesday like you put it all in the playlist and get it ready? No,
I mean, because like discussion that we obviously had before was the amount of tracks. I was very fortunate in the sense that when I first started DJing, I was actually given a very large amount of tracks, so I had a lot to kind of go through and find out what I wanted, what I actually liked, what I was even good at.
So you didn't download your first tracks, you just got given like a USB with like 1,000 songs on it or something.
Yeah, basically.
That's pretty lucky.
Yeah, I got given 500 to begin with. Well, like I said, back to my mate 4Jack, he gave me 500 songs on my phone just to listen to, because like I just said to him, I was like, I need to, is there any house DJs that I can like listen to? At the time I only knew rappers, so it was just use them, and then he gave me another bunch of them to kind of just to like train on. And at the time, when like I said, it was very much like a diary thing, so it was more just me teaching myself how to mix. There's a lot of tracks that get used in a lot of these mixes because at the time they were the songs that I really liked. As I've kind of got moving forward a little bit, I'm kind of at that point now where I'm trying to, if I download a bunch of new songs or I go and get them, then like what I'll do is I'll use those new songs and I'll put them in that mix. So then at least they're always fresh,
Yeah.
But like, look, there's honestly no preparation. Like it's shuffle. It's
really,
yeah, essentially
just
like,
going through
very
your
nice.
Yeah. Well, now that I'm doing the new songs thing, so whenever I go and get a bunch, I put them in the new songs, and then I do your cue points and playlists and whatever from that point.
Yeah.
But prior to that, like if I wanted to play tech house, I'd just go in the tech house folder, had 750 songs and just whatever was there, you know. So as I've kind of like grown a little bit in my DJing skills, I've kind of learned a bit more about preparation or just learning your songs more, I can't stress that enough. Like,
well, that's exactly it. Like, to any new DJs that are like watching that want to get into it, really got to know your music. 100%. Like, you have to know your music.
Yeah, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, there's still times where I'll bring in a track and it's the wrong remix, or it's a same name but it's a completely different track, and I'm just like, what have you done, But
I've done that
before. It's the wrong remix. Like, I often find the problem where I've got like 7 remixes of the same song.
Yeah.
About 4 or 5 years ago now, it was a long time ago, when I first got, it might have been like 3 or 4 years into my DJing, I thought it'd be funny to get all the, what was that Valentino Khan song?
Oh, Pump It.
Deep Down Low.
Oh, Deep Down Low, yeah.
Every remix
Just
I could find,
Yeah.
and I just mixed all of them together. So it was just a different drop, a different remix of the same
wow.
song. And then I send it to him on Twitter. Got no reply though, so...
How long did that actually equate out to?
I think it was like 22 minutes long.
It's a fair whack.
And
Yeah,
I was
that's not
only
bad.
single dropping, so I was only dropping the first drop of each song and like quickly mixing out of them.
Could have pushed it out.
For me, right?
I could have pushed it out. I could have pushed it out to like an hour, but fuck that.
For me, I actually had to go through and like cull a few of my remixes and stuff like that, or like name them something, like just put something at the end. Because like I went out to Scarborough Beach Bar once, and I thought I was playing When a Fire Starts to Burn, but it was actually a UK grime remix of it. So like I thought, yeah, I'll just play that, and then everyone kind of looks at me and it's just like it goes into the heavy wobs, and I'm
Suddenly
like,
everyone's
oh
just giving
shit,
you bass face.
Yeah. That's it. I'm like, uh-oh, there's families here. This is not going to work out right.
Yeah, well, it does get to that point where you do like, and you know, like I said, it's lucky that I got so many songs in the beginning, but you know, a big problem that I faced was, you know, I got to the point where I had like 5,500, 7,000 songs, you know, that you just kind of, I met a backpacker that, you know, me and him traded a whole bunch of songs, like friends have given them to me.
He's just like, just got these Euro beats.
Oh, it was very experimental. But, you know, like there was, and then obviously all the ones that I've bought and stuff in that meantime as well. So, you know, I had this massive collection, but I got to the point where it was literally just so big, I couldn't get through it all and be able to actually like, you know, work it all out and put it in playlists, and I've kind of just made the decision to just archive the whole lot and we'll just start fresh, you know. So it's kind of also given me a chance to, now that I feel like I've had
the bi-yearly purge of your record box library.
It's still all there, but you know, we'll just leave it in that.
Mine's overdue. I've got like 8,000 songs on there. There is absolutely no way I'm playing all of those. So I need to like trim it down by probably half.
Don't get me started.
Okay, Alex, why don't you tell the viewers how many songs you've got in yours?
Okay, so I think it's like 32 or 34,000 songs, and they're all in playlists, right? They're all organized and color coded and stuff like that. But then the amount of them I actually get to play out and about, it's probably like 7,000, 5,000 or something like that, because they're open format. So rock and roll, classics, sing-alongs, 90s, pop, Britney Spears, the whole lot, ABBA.
You're doing
that
very
sort of
varied
shit.
gigs as well, so you need a larger...
That's it.
Whereas we're just house DJ.
but like, so my main playlist that I use, I think it's got 13,000 songs in it, but then like out of that 13,000 songs, I probably only like get to play, you know, 5,000 out of those.
Well, the other thing as well, I like when I was first getting into it, you don't really know like what kind of style or, you know, what kind of music that you're really into. Like you get very trigger happy, you know, like, and you get to that point where even now sometimes I go back and I'm like, whew, did I download that? Like, was that given to
That's
me?
exactly it. Yeah, I've done the same thing. Like when I go through, maybe once every 2 years, I'll re-go through all my music, and I'm like, I don't remember this song. Like, where the fuck did this come from?
Should I? But like now with this new thing, like, because for me there was. Look, shout out to Good Karma first and foremost. Like they, you know, really sorted us out with these. On the last couple of Restless events, we used their Void sound system, and you know, there was a real big push for me there because I thought, you know, if I'm going to be playing on this like sound system, I really wanted to get like good quality tracks. So I went back and started getting, you know, WHYZE and stuff like that. So now I've kind of separated it that way. You know, I've got my WHYZE collection, and then everything prior is all MP3. You know?
Yeah. What type of other genres do you play as well? Because you said before, like,
yeah. Well, I you know, when I
what can people expect on your, what is it, weekly Wednesdays?
Yeah, so WHYZE Wednesdays, episode 144 coming tomorrow. So yeah, we got that. But look, I mean, like you said, it is primarily kind of, look at that artwork, mate. I did that.
Hell yeah, that looks like 2002.
Mate, I did that on Paint.
nice. You can see the pixels at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
And I mean, like, you know, since then I've kind of, you know, I've just changed the color, and now what I do is I just go literally through my phone or my archive, find a picture that I've taken sometime in the last however many years. So I took that photo there. This is a techno mix that I did. Took that photo there for 2 days deep at what's the name of the club? It's in Melbourne, Storyville.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was just a wobbly photo.
How long ago did you take this photo?
Mate.
But still, that's
again, this is the thing. This is like I don't know. Like I just go in my hard drive. I've got all my.
This is pre-COVID, right?
Yeah, I was in Melbourne at the time, so yeah, we were at Storyville.
But that's really good though, because if you're using different photos out of your phone, then it's like the memories attached to that photo kind of thing.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, because then you go, oh, Storyville. I went, that was a great night.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And like I said, every single photo that I've used for thing has always been a photo that I've taken myself. Even if it's just me taking a photo of a really close up on a table because I like the texture of it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you say my table's textured? No, nice texture.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
There is actually one there where I've got like I've taken a photo of the coffee table with a mirror above it, and it just looks like this pattern, and I'm like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. But I mean, look, like obviously this one's techno because I've been kind of moving into that space a little bit. I've been playing techno at some house parties, but
I'm gonna pick one at random then.
Predominantly minimal house, I would say. There you go. That's our mate Dan.
Oh yeah, look, there you go.
Dan did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was
Dan doesn't tell me about this shit.
Yeah,
he's not
shout out
faded
Dan.
anymore. He's funked
He's
one.
supposed
Yeah.
to be my best friend. I didn't even know he did this.
It's rude, isn't it? It's rude.
Yeah, rude
Dan,
Dan.
if you're listening, mate.
Yeah, if you, we're just gonna, I'm gonna film
smack you
this.
upside the chin.
Like, I'm gonna rewatch this. I'm gonna film this on my phone. I'm gonna send it to him. And be like, Mitch is not impressed.
I have to listen to all of his sets so that I can scrutinize them and message him evil things and make him cry himself to sleep.
Well, if anybody else wants any of Mitch's critiques, send me a mix. I'll put you
Hit me
up.
up. Hit me up.
Yeah,
Or maybe you should hit me up to do a mix so everyone can critique me.
Well, exactly. Do a bit of a trade,
Yeah.
Hey, like that's the thing is, I am looking for more people to kind of do these mixes. It's not necessarily that I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'm still mixing regardless. But I do really want to give a lot of opportunities. I got more friends now that are kind of coming into that space where they are wanting to learn to DJ. Like it's really good that I'm. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not like, there's much better DJs doing much more things than I am. But now that I'm in that position to be able to teach people, what it is and be able to kind of show them how to do it, it's a good feeling. I think, like
it would be, yeah.
Like we were saying before, there really is we need more of that, like bringing people up. It doesn't need to be so much like divisive and fighting for top position.
Yeah.
Like,
that's it. Everyone for the right reason, just like hang out and have a good time.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes a good event. It's just when everyone's vibing and just enjoying it.
It
That's
is
what
the vibe at the end of the day, I think.
That's what I loved about Nevermind. Like, I only ever went there, I think, once or twice, but it's just open roof. Like, everyone could smoke and chill and hang out, and everyone's just standing there having a good time. Like,
and yeah, honestly, man, like that was like the first, I'd say, club I went to was probably Geisha, but like, when I went to Nevermind, obviously, especially within our scene, you've got Geisha for your late night, and you had Nevermind for your Sunday during the days. Excuse me.
I'll just put you up on full screen while you do that.
Nice one. But yeah, it was like that Sunday community, like it was completely different to anything I'd ever seen, and like it was not really something at all that I expected.
I'm disappointed in myself because I never did make it to a Sunday because a lot of the Soon crew also attended Sundays.
That actually hurts me, man.
I've been to Nevermind several times. I've even played at Nevermind. I just hadn't been on a Sunday.
Like it's a special time, and I mean, look, hopefully Ace will bring something back in the future, but it's
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Quick pit stop. We've got David Gardner.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to Dan Leach. Yeah, a sticker. Yeah, a sticker is going on that board. We talked about that prior.
It's sitting on the table, ready to go.
Yeah, right here.
And thank you also for your comment, Dave.
Go on.
And then Peter Greenway.
Wow, there's an Albany boy.
Okay,
nice one. There you go. So
is he a DJ as well? Or?
No. So he's one of the guys that I used to actually live with. David Gardner. That's his brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Peter Greenway is one of the guys I used to live with. So yeah, when I was in Albany, actually, I made the brave and ever so smart decision to move out of home at 15, and he was one of the guys that I lived with. So it was,
that's very brave.
Yeah, it was. I mean, look, it was an interesting time. I left home, moved in with like 5 of my mates. I was the youngest. Still going.
15 years, still very young.
Yeah, and look, don't get me wrong, like nothing to do with my home life. My parents are great, probably the best I could ask for. But I was just at that point where I wanted to. I was just independent, wanted to grow up too quickly.
Yeah, and leave the nest, that's it.
Yeah, and moved out and did that, and I was living with a bunch of lads at 15, still going to school, but poorly. Yeah, my attendance rate definitely dropped. And then, it was still stuck that out, but then when I, just before year 12, like just dropped out, 2 weeks, I was just saying to you guys before, like I was in year 12 doing TE, flat stick, ready to go to uni, and dropped out 2 weeks before my exams to work at Red Rooster, So I wasn't necessarily any sort of thing behind it, but I guess when you're at that age and you're kind of like out on your own, you don't have anybody saying, no, you have to stay at school. You know, I just did what I wanted to do.
But it's in a way, it's a good thing, because it's like, it's the development. It's being able to make your own decisions and do what you want to do. And then like, here you are now. Like,
100%.
You know, nice shaven, look professional, the whole lot.
Far, so good.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
Well, I mean, like I did eventually try to go back to uni and do a little bit of that as well. But like, you know, like I was saying before, it's once you're an adult and you've moved out of home and you're paying everything, and you know, I had a car loan and I was working full time. I just couldn't afford to like continue to study and actually, you know, support myself at the same time. But you know, at the time I was also working in like a food distribution thing, trying to, you know, progress my career. I worked there for 8.5 years, and
8.5 years, wow.
yeah, it just started as like a box stacker, and then worked my way up to being like a guy that flew out and covered for managers and stock controllers and things like that.
Oh wow, okay.
But yeah, unfortunately the seizures came through, and I had one while I was actually working and in the car park, and you know, woke up, ambulance was there, and then my job was pretty much gone after that. So I took a move.
Really? Like they didn't like
they kept me on, but it was like I just couldn't do what I was doing, because you know, at the time I had to drive. I had to be flown out to different places, you know, and you know, I was staying in hotels and things like that. So you know, it just, the fact that I'd had a seizure in the car park of the workplace, you know, they just couldn't afford to have that risk. So you know, I got put back in the office and did the phone thing for a bit, but it really kind of made me realize, like, you know, I've been putting all of my time and all of this effort into chasing this career, and like, it's, where did it get me, you know? Like,
yeah, that's it, just trying to
You
climb
want,
the
mate?
ladder.
There's some water there for you.
thank you, man, appreciate it.
So then, with the seizures and stuff like that, I mean, we did talk about it before we started, but kind of like reiterate on it a little bit. But like, so when you go out clubbing and, you know, going out partying and stuff like that, how does it, like, you're okay kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you know, like I said before, you know, a lot of the time, if I'm not, they'll put the sunglasses on.
Yeah,
you know, just keep
you're
the
that cool
flashes
guy.
on.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I mean, it's you know, like I said, I got the scar to prove it. You know, like the first couple of seizures were to do with like a lifestyle choice that I made, which I rectified, and they went away. But the second round of seizures really came from just too much partying. Like I just wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't sleeping right. You know, like
Wasn't treating your body well.
not at all. You
Just
know?
wearing yourself out.
Yeah,
A bit.
yeah.
So have you had like a recommendation for other people with epilepsy who want to go out and experience nightlife?
You just
How
need.
can they do it safely?
Well, yeah, look, you need to. I'm very lucky. I will say this. First and foremost, I'm very lucky. There are people that have seizures multiple times a day. You know, even when I had them at my worst, I had 5 in 3 months. You know, so that's the frequency we're talking about. It's, you know, it's nothing compared to what some people deal with. But, you know, for me, the biggest thing was just learning my body, you know, making sure, you know, things like, you know, like drinking is something that I've really cut back on, you know, like I still drink, but like I probably don't have any more than 6 drinks in a night, you know. Like alcohol is a trigger for me. Certain things aren't, certain things are, you know. So it's just listening to you and finding out what's working for yourself. But another thing that I mentioned before the podcast as well is that because obviously when you have a seizure, you lose your license. Living in Northbridge and, you know, having all of my hobbies and stuff being in the nightlife anyway, I've just moved to Northbridge and got rid of my car because I decided, you know, when it comes back, like if they're going to pop up out of nowhere and I could just have a seizure at any time. So I'm lucky in the sense that I have the ability to kind of play with that a little bit. If I have a seizure walking down the street or whatever,
Yeah, people will stop and help out.
of course, but it's not going to cost me anything, you know. Right now I work from home, you know, like my desk is a meter away from my bed, you know, like I don't have to go to work.
Probably only going to cost you a trip to the hospital, right?
Correct, you know, exactly. So it's being able to like listen to yourself and really being able to kind of like see where you're at, you know. Like unfortunately for me, the seizures that I had as an adult, they all popped up out of the blue. So when I was a kid, I used to be able to feel them coming on. I could fight them off, and you know, I used to be able to kind of like focus and center myself and pull myself out of it. But the ones that I had as an adult were very much like I'd imagined the last 5 minutes before it actually happened. So hypothetically, I'm crossing a road and I get to the other side and then I blink and I wake up halfway across. So, you know, they always came on with no warning or anything like that. But I've gotten to a point now where, you know, I just make sure that I have had enough sleep, and that, you know, if I am drinking, I'm on a full stomach, and you know, I've got medication as well, but that I take, but it's more just to kind of keep that regular thing going, you know.
That's what's just so hectic though as well. It's just like alcohol is a poison. It's a proven poison. So are cigarettes, but they're so socially acceptable.
And it's so ingrained in the
society.
the industry.
Yeah.
Specifically our industry.
That's it. Nightlife and hospitality is just like you go out and get on the beers with your mates, or you know, you go drink spirits, or you do this or you do that. But
so celebrated, you know.
That's exactly it. But it's just not good for you. Like, not good for you
100%.
whatsoever.
Although I think like being sober at a party is becoming more popular.
Yeah.
Like me and Dan occasionally will just like be like, I've had enough. I just want to go to this one sober. And like,
well, one thing that's blowing me away as well is just like the rise. I mean, it's not so much the rise, but it's just like using other party drugs in a way. It's like, you know,
it's also that like alcohol and cigarettes are now becoming more expensive than party and illicit drugs.
Well, I'm pretty sure the prices are going up again for alcohol, for beer at least, on tap.
Yeah, I mean, it goes up all the time for cigarettes and beers. It just constantly goes up every 6 months. So,
well, not so much for alcohol. It's just recently that apparently, like, I think a pint's going to be 1.5% more expensive.
Bars.
Pardon?
They're raising it in bars.
Yeah, in bars.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, like you said with the cigarettes, that's why I got off them, just on sheer price. I mean, it wasn't even the health benefits. It was just the fact that I couldn't afford to be smoking.
But even
a pack
those
of a half
vapes
a
as
week.
well. Those, is that one of those single-use vapes?
This one is, yeah.
Yeah, even those are like still the same price as a pack of cigarettes. Anyway.
No, yes and no, but how long would a vape like that last you?
So, I mean, look, I'm at the point now, like I was saying before, when I first went from cigarettes to vapes, I was going through like
all the time.
Man, 2 of these a week, you know, like just never left my hand always. But I guess once you kind of like balance out and you kind of get used to the difference in nicotine, like now I probably one will last me 2 weeks. So, you know, like
I think the big difference is that the vape, it doesn't hit you like a cigarette does.
Yeah.
Cigarette's like this big head spin almost.
But it's not
when
even
you
that as
smoke
well.
one.
It's like if you stop smoking for like 2 weeks, right, and you're just a casual smoker, and then you're going to have a cigarette, then after sometimes you just feel so sick.
Yeah,
like, you just feel groggy.
I'm kind of in that halfway point now when if someone offers me a cigarette at a party, I'm like, yes, please. And I want it and I want it, I want it. And then as I'm finished, I'm like, no, I shouldn't.
Yeah,
I hate
it's like,
myself.
oh,
It's the same with like eating Macca's or something like that.
And I
it
mean,
doesn't do
regret.
anything, yeah.
and like even like, you know, these are everywhere now. Like
Yeah.
everybody's got them, you know. It's even though you can't buy them, like obviously you can.
But that's what I found so ridiculous as well, is it's like a class 4 scheduled drug. Like,
this is
yeah, technically. Yeah, which I'm pretty sure it's on the same par as crack.
wow.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Just
like,
to try and hide it down.
yeah,
I don't know why there's this big like sort
Yeah.
of witch hunt about vaping.
it's because cigarette companies aren't making
Lobbyists,
money.
yeah.
Lobbyists.
Well, why don't they just make vapes?
Well,
That'd be too easy, wouldn't
yeah,
it? What are they
I
gonna
thought
do?
they
with
were.
this
So
tobacco
easy.
I
leaf?
thought all these huge companies were making, they were changing to vapes, and that's why the laws are getting more strict, because the governments are seeing that these large companies are now moving
have
to
seen
vapes,
that,
which is a lot more unregulated. But because there's not a lot of research, they're going really ham, the same strength as they would on cigarettes, because it's got nicotine in it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have seen that, and it's like they will eventually have to move over. You know, it's like I think that's the thing, is there is kind of a, and like even touching back on, like, you know, with the nightlife and the drugs and stuff, I think there is, you know, it's becoming more acceptable, because I think as it becomes like a larger thing, you know, people are. I would say, in my experience, or from what I've seen anyway, I would say people are being more safe with what they're doing, you know? I feel like when I first kind of got into clubbing and stuff, there was really like a lot of almost rampant use, you know? But especially as I've kind of pulled myself out of it a little bit now, you kind of, like you said, going to a party sober, I can have I'm not as in it, you know, kind of taking a step back and kind of like as looking around and, you know, seeing things and observing things that have kind of give me a little bit of hope in that sense. You know?
but that's the same thing as well. Like, I just reckon that it's kind of just the culture's changing, that everyone's more aware and socially aware. It's like, okay, like, you know, just these things are not good for you, or that, you know, do whatever you want, freedom of choice and stuff like that. But people know the consequences, kind of thing. You know, that's like what I was going to say before, where it's like, I've found on the rise, I mean, it's always been around, but like the rise of ketamine almost. And it's kind of like, you know, it's like probably like the last couple of months I actually first saw it, and it was like, okay, so you're pushing through a K-hole, so you get a really, really wicked high. But at the same time, it's like when I was first 18, 19, going out to parties and stuff, I'd never see kids like, you know, out there just like sitting on the couch munging out in K. Like,
yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing as well. It's like, again, going back to the you know, the difference of world kind of thing. Growing up in Albany, and like, you know, I'm sure, you know, you're from country as well.
Yeah,
like,
Busso, yeah.
This is one of the things where, like, you know, epilepsy has really kind of been a blessing, because being in those places, you spend a lot of time around, like, you know, people using a lot of methamphetamine and stuff like that. And obviously, because being an upper working with seizures, I was always like, not for me, you know, but it's you know, you see that, and I feel like it's really good that it doesn't play so much of a role in this party lifestyle. I'm sure in some scenes it probably does, but it's really something
the hard style scene, maybe.
Maybe to keep up with the BPM. You know?
That's it. But that's exactly it, though, because like, at the end of the day, crack and ice and everything, it just destroys you. It just destroys families. It does this, does that. But a lot of people down like Bunbury, you know, it's pretty bad for it, unfortunately. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like you move to Perth, and it's almost like it's a different lifestyle. It's like, instead just have pills, so like, which can be bad at the same time. But at the same time as well, it's like there is so much research going into this stuff, proving like all the medical benefits and stuff.
Well, I find that I think the thing is like in Albany or in, you know, Bunbury or in any small country town, because it is smaller and you have a smaller population, because you know everybody, things like that also seem a lot more apparent. You know? Like when I moved to Perth, obviously there was, you know, like I said before, unsavory characters, unsavory behavior. You know, like you still are plenty of it around. You know, but I guess because there is such a larger population and you have all of these different scenes that you can kind of slot into, it really gives you a chance to kind of pick and choose where it was, you know?
Exactly, and where you want to hang out and what you want to do and stuff. And that's exactly it, like what we were talking about before, like with Busso, you know, Friday night fight night at the Esplanade. And it's like, if you don't want to be a part of that in Perth, you know, I guess maybe go down to Rockingham or some shit, or somewhere like, you know, proper like Cannington or Kwinana or something like that, and there'll be like a rough and tough pub. But you just go into the city and go like, you know, go to Geisha and everyone's safe. There's no fights. There's nothing this. There's nothing that. And it's all good.
Maybe like 4 fights there in the whole, like, I've been going there since like 2017.
That's it, right? Yeah.
And like, that's what, like, going back to what we were saying about, you know, getting into the house scene. That was one of the really big things that it was for me. You know, like a lot of people that when we first came into it, like I said, I was hanging out with 4Jack and stuff, and then, you know, like even people like, you know, J Dream, who've interviewed before, like one of the first people that we spoke to and like became friends with, and, you know, it was just a much more like inclusive. Everybody seemed to actually, you know, be wanting to, you know, progress and do things, whereas I guess where I kind of came from before that, it's just a lot of sitting around glass tables, you know, like there's not really sort of anything much going on, and it's the same stuff week to week. And I guess even going back to my mixes and stuff, you know, that's something that where it's like it's a diary of progression, you know, like what is it that I'm doing with this, you know, even if I'm not sitting there and saying, oh, I want to be Fisher in 6 months, but like, you know, I would do,
why not?
That's it, why not?
Let me dream.
Goals.
But you just want to be able to, like, for me, it's like, if you're going to do something, do it right, you know, like, and do it with purpose, you know. So it's the same with Restless. You know, we started it and we very much, you know, it is a party. We are trying to make it like a good event. We are trying to make it a vibe for people, but you know, there is also a goal behind that, you know.
Well, yeah, let's talk more about Restless.
That's exactly it. So where did it all begin? How did it start? Like, what is it in a way?
Well, it's so we like primarily, like, as you asked me before about like the kind of sound. It's also, you know, probably the sound that I have for, you know, my mixes as well. Like very much focused on like minimal house, minimal deep house, but it was an idea that we kind of came up with early last year. It was actually February last year. Myself and Dan, who you can see in that middle picture.
There's a picture of Shroom. Shout out to him. That's right. Absolute legend.
WHYZE Wednesday's coming in tomorrow with Shroom, actually. So yeah, Dan there on the right. Myself and Dan just put the idea together in February last year. And yeah, like, look, it was one of those ones, like, it was just an idea that we just played with for ages, and then, you know, we're very lucky, you know, shout out to Kira, the Rechabite. She gave us the opportunity to host our event on a Sunday up on that rooftop there, and hosted the first one in October.
So what type of preparation goes into like throwing these events and stuff like that? And it's only been at the Record Bite so far? Or?
Yeah, so far it's only been at the Record Bite.
Oh, there's Birdie. Shout out Robbie.
Yeah, so I mean that's like another thing, you know, we really wanted to push with, you know, community engagement, doing things like that kind of bring in people from, you know, we like use our local photographers rather than going and doing everything through either the club or doing things, you know, through like proper companies, you know, like using people that we know so that, you know, that money and that the I guess the networking kind of helps grow everybody, you know, like shout out to Kyle who does all our photography, you know, and like he wasn't even doing photography, like he was doing photography but he wasn't like doing party photography, and now you know we do it, we use him every time.
This is a cool photo.
That is not actually us. So yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. Disclaimer on that one.
Where
that was that was actually before we had our first party, I believe.
Right.
So that was one of the kind of like stock ones that we tried to like take in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, that's where you go. Before that was the first one, and even that one there above, that was. We didn't have any images, you know, we just did the first one on the rooftop. We were very, very lucky. Like all of our friends came out to support us, and, you know, we got obviously a pretty good lineup there. And, you know, held that first one in October. We followed up with another one.
Pull up the Facebook, Mitch, if the Instagram's still stuffing around and stuff. And then go through those photos.
Yeah, well, that's where we obviously have the photo drops there as well. So we had the November one as well. In December, we will held it in the basement, so that was a little bit different there on a Saturday.
It's such a nice venue in there.
It's
like, look
really
at those
good
lights, so cool.
Yeah, spend all the time playing on the iPad to control the roof lights.
Really? Just rock up a couple of hours early. He's like, let's get this going, mate.
But yeah, we've you know, like even going back to what we were saying about using Birdie as well. For the first two upstairs events, we got Birdie to do the first one, and we got Big C or Sam to do the second one.
Would she actually like live paint as well?
Yeah, well, that's what it was. So we got it. They came in, set them up in the corner over there, and what we did was we, you know, put the painting and then had a live auction for the paintings as well.
Nice.
Also gave both the girls a chance to, you know, put their stuff there. They could sell some prints and things like that. But just to give it something a little bit of like, you know, of a little bit extra on the side. Old mate there, yeah. And Cam, shout out.
Yeah, and Cam's there as well. Yeah, almost didn't recognize him.
Yeah,
I didn't recognize him with his sunglasses on.
And look at the comment as well. Lol.
So yeah, we got like you're just asking about preparation. You know, we really were flying by the seat of our pants. You know,
That's a sick shot.
That's
pretty
Cody
cool.
Monroe. He was our guest for.
Oh, really? Cody Monroe. Yeah, we've had him on here actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Yeah,
really cool
really
dude.
good bloke. Just check out his Instagram. Has a new track coming. That one is really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we we took the last event was on the 9th of Jan. We're taking February and March off just to kind of do a little bit of recalibration. You know, we're tossing up with some ideas in March at the moment, but just February was a good month to just kind of take a bit of a breather. We hadn't really done any preparation. We hadn't really done much before that, hadn't done any events before that, so it was very much just learning as we went. But now that we've done it enough times, we've really had the opportunity to actually, like, you know, build like lists of what we need to do so that we can almost pump out an event in 3 days if everybody's on board.
Well, that's exactly it. Like when you start an event, you know, there's always going to be like things that you missed or you like didn't think of or whatever, but then as you progress, you're like, why didn't we do that? Let's do this, let's do that. And like, it's just like check boxes basically.
Another little pit stop here. We've got a few messages here from one from Jay Hockness. So important to learn and network well. Adapt with the scene, which you've done really well.
Thank you, Joe.
What could you say is the best way to network as a DJ from Marco?
Marco,
do you have any tips?
Look, I guess, you know, this is something we obviously discussed beforehand as well. You know, look, when it comes down to it, just the biggest lesson for me, especially in 2021, it was just be there. You know, you do, as corny as it sounds, you do just need to be at the events. You need to be able to, you know, be willing to go to these after parties, go and like
these
just
face-to-face meetings,
friends with people. I mean, look, there is two ways. You can also, you know, message people and send your mixes in and stuff, and you probably will get just as far. But like if you're looking for ways to network and, you know, come up with ideas and put in, you know, be able to do things like what me and Dan are doing now, you know, it's all of those sitting around chatting shit that you when you come up with these best ideas, you know.
I agree. I often tell people that we go to the gym to work our body out, but we also go to parties to work our minds out.
Yeah.
You talk to somebody else who's creative, and it rubs off on you, and then you feel creative. You go home that night and you make a mix, or you, I don't know, develop a new mixing technique or something like that, because you've had that conversation and it sparked that interest in you.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I really think that that's the thing, is like it's there's so much like something that I really, really believe is that, you know, every single person that you meet has something to give you, right? Whether it's something you look at that person and you're like, look, you have something that I don't aspire to be like, or something that you do aspire to be like, you know, even if it's just the way they do something or the way they say something, if you look hard enough, everybody has something to offer. And, you know, it's just being out there and like being open to those conversations. You know, there's been DJs that I've spoken to that I've then given gigs to, or I've been given gigs who I've just literally spoken to at an event and just mentioned it in passing. Yeah. But really, when it comes down to it, like if you want to be able to like get gigs by showing your skill, you just have to be given those opportunities to play in front of people, you know. That's it. Yeah, you know, if you're at a kick on and the decks are open, like even if you're not fully confident, like jump on. Like a lot of the time, like you were saying earlier as well, if people aren't really like sitting there and critiquing you, most of the time they're not going to pick up on those little mistakes. And it's more about, you know, something that I'm still learning even now is like, you know, your track selection and, you know, like the way that you kind of build your set.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly it. And it's I mean, to like also like extend on that as well, it's just one of those things, like, you know, show your face, but just have a good time and be a part of it. Like if you're there and having a great time, people feed off that energy. Yeah. And then that's where you can meet people and do this and do that. Just
be open, you know. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is like even coming into the house scene, I was, you know, originally I was like, you know, only associating with the same set of people, but you know, as soon as you start to kind of, you know, talk to those random people and have these conversations, be more open-minded, you know, it's opened crazy amount of doors. You know, like met all of you guys like through Soon and like, you know, stuff like that, Quigley parties, like, you know, like
shout out Quigley crew,
Quigley crew, that's for sure.
Little wicked parties there through, and the Soon crew,
you know, wink wink.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Big one of those. And then that's the thing, is it's just, you know, being friendly goes a long way, you know, like it doesn't take too much time out of your day, even if, you know, you might not necessarily want to speak to that person, they might have something interesting to tell you.
That's exactly it. And that's like one of the reasons why I started doing this as well, because there's so many people out there with amazing stories and adventures and things that they've done, and it's like, well, tell people, tell the world, because like when we got Davo on, I don't know if Davo's watching, but holy shit.
Yeah, that was a full-on one.
Yeah, like, holy shit.
Been
like,
to how many countries?
Yeah, that's it. Like 40 different countries, roadie for bloody Simple Minds, like, and it all started from working at Cosmic Sound and going, oh, I want to get out of Perth. And it's like, all right, go talk to this dude. Yeah, and then see you later, go to Europe.
Yeah, and I've known him for months and never heard that story.
Yeah, that's like, what I mean, right? He didn't even tell us that until he got here that day. Yeah. Like, I was messaging him, talking to him, he was like, yeah, okay, you're a producer, like, you know, you're making some cool beats, let's get you on to talk about how you make that. Oh, wait a minute, you were a roadie? Like, and you've done this? What?
I think the most valuable part of this podcast is the network that we've created. And all these people that, like, when we're out now and they're out and about, because it's all Perth based, you know, you're out in on the town and you meet all these new people that you wouldn't have had interactions with before. So.
Most definitely. And it allows, and the other thing that I've seen from you guys as well is, like, you know, you also interview people from, you know, not just one specific scene, you know, people like drum and bass DJs or, you know, like radio presenters.
Or bands or anything.
Exactly, you know. So
I think we want to start doing more panels, like get 3 or 4 guests on and then have like a more of a roundtable discussion.
I want to try and exhaust the Perth scene though.
We just haven't got around to it
get yet. Through everyone, fill that board up, and then start doing panels.
But like, and that's the thing though, is it brings these people together. There's so much, like, especially like, you know, going back to the Nevermind and Geisha thing, you know, when as much as I love them both, you know, I did get very caught in that cycle, you know, and now that like you've kind of had the chance to go and see other clubs, you didn't even realize they were there, you know. There's like events like, you know, Oochie Coochie, for instance, you know, like I've only been to that once or twice recently, but like
Oochie Coochie?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
it. I've never heard of
exactly.
that.
But like, I went there packed.
How do
You're
you
not talking
spell
about
it?
hula bula?
No, it's Uchikuchi. OOCHIE.
Can you look it up? I want to go to this place. I want to go
they
check
hold
it
at
out.
Barbez. It's insanity. Like younger crowd, but like, and you know, but still within the same genre of music. But you're not exposed to that. Like, there you go.
Is this it?
Yeah. Shout out to Uchikuchi. That was an intense night.
Shout out.
I pulled this up on the wrong. Give me a second.
And so, what? Yep.
There we go.
And like, yeah, you know, and this is the other thing. Going back to the, you know, with everything being shut down, it is good. Like, don't get me wrong. As much as there is still that, you know, competitive aspect when you're holding these events, it's so good that there's all these events popping up. You know, like I like that diversity, and I think there needs to be more. Like, you know, as I was saying, one of the things we wanted to do with Restless, like more collabs, you know, like getting people from different, it doesn't have to be different scenes so much, but different crews together, you know, like building that scene up. So, I mean, there's 12 nights to party in a month, right? Like, you know, if there's enough cohesion.
If you're the right kind of person, there's 30 days to party in a month.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, you know, like 12 weekend days, like that's enough. Like, you know, if everybody's doing it, then there should be really enough for you to party any night of the week, you know, or any night that you want to, right? So it's good that there's more of this popping up, and there's good that it's, I guess, more people working together. You know, there's places, and you hear it all the time, where like, you know, DJs aren't allowed to play for certain events, or, you know, you can't do this or you can't do that, and it's like, is our scene really big enough for that? You know? Especially within the house scene. Like, I know that we're, you know, a couple of thousand strong, but like, are we really big enough to be saying you can't do this and you can't do that? Like, you know, a big thing for us with Restless, I would say probably almost one of our driving forces, is really to kind of bring community together and raise everybody up. We want to be able to give DJs that haven't played, you know, a chance to kind of go up and do that. You know, it's not necessarily like open house, like just jump on, but, you know, if people are interested, like, participate, because it gives you meaning, you know.
One thing I found, like, just thinking about this and like what we're talking about and stuff, it'd be very interesting to see what it's like, say, over in Melbourne or Sydney or in the bigger capital cities. Because like in Perth, it's all event based almost. Like, you know, like say back in the day with Amber or Barb's, or, you know, like, sure, you've got Magnet House, which is just Magnet House, but they have Matter Fridays kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like over in Melbourne, you've got so many different bars and pubs to go to that I can imagine like maybe like these bars and pubs, they don't have to throw events because there's so many people. But like in Perth, it kind of like, we're so small that we have these events in a way, and that's like, you know, like the collective kind of thing. Well, not collective, but like the niche.
What you're trying to say is like we don't have many walking clubs where it's just like you go to the club because it's the club.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Well, it's like for us, it's like every month, you know, we'll there's events, all sorts of different events and stuff like that. Like Uchikuchi, as I said, never heard of them. But then you said it's at Barb's. Like, okay, yeah, it's at Barb's. But like I can imagine over in Melbourne or Sydney, it's just like you just go to that club. And the DJs will be just trying to get on that club kind of thing.
And they do. I mean, there is obviously, because there is more clubs, there's a lot more residencies and stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's still residencies here, you know, like even though they might not necessarily be at like house-focused clubs, or, you know, because there's just not that many. But, you know, I guess this is where you go back to that whole thing of like collaborations, because, you know, if you can get people together and you can throw double the party, you know, like even unfortunately for New Year's, you know, that was cancelled, but we're looking to maybe even try and do something similar to that, where we do have multiple stages and we've got separate events, you know, like all in the same night, but you know, like you can still see different sounds. You can go to upstairs and feel like a bit more like of our minimal groove, and then go downstairs and feel whoever's playing there, you know.
Yeah, I reckon that would work quite well, because then it's like, I mean, as an example, right, so I went to Melbourne ages and ages ago, and I went and watched Gesaffelstein live, right, and I was just hanging out, I was just fanging to go watch him live, right, but I was with my parents at the time, and so with that, they dropped me off at the club at like 9 PM when it first opened, and so it was techno, right, and I love techno, but it's like, from 9 PM to like 11 PM, I was just like, come on, when is he coming on, kind of thing, because I wasn't allowed to go. I could go out, but I didn't want to line up or do this or do that, so I was like, I just stuck in there, just holding it, just drinking, me like, come on, when is he coming on? But if you have multiple stages and multiple like genres and stuff, I reckon 100%. Like, they work out so well.
Yeah, and there's like so many venues that are popping up and doing it, you know, like I would say, like, again, like shout out to the Record Bite. They've been absolutely great to us, you know, like especially for an event that doesn't, you know, we've only just started out, you know, it's been really accommodating and really good to have someone that's like willing to work with
How many
us.
events have you had there at the Record Bite now?
It was supposed to be 5, but we only ended up holding 4 because of
one
the
was
yeah.
So what did you actually have planned for New Year's as well? So what was the original plan before it got cancelled?
Well, so originally on New Year's they had Ruben K's Into the K-Hole, which is like a you know, drag performance, a show, DJs kind of stuff, and that was in the main hall. Yeah. And then essentially what Restless was like the complimentary thing. So we ran it as a separate event, but it would have been the basement and then the rooftop. So, you know, you could go to the main show and do all of that stuff, and then you could also pay like a little bit extra.
So
and have access
what was
to
the
all
profit sharing like for that?
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, are your events ticketed as well?
Yeah, well, this is the thing is, look, this is the discussion that we always have, you know, like we would love to be able to get to a point where it can be free, but, you know, at the same time, unless you kind of are holding it at your own club or anything like that, you don't have that.
That's exactly it.
We
Because
have this
you
struggle
can't
with
do that,
Zoom as well. It's like, how do we put on free events to the standard that we want to and still be able to get the funding required?
Yeah,
and that's the thing though, but like, you know, you guys have that because a lot of the Soon events are like outdoor parties and stuff like that. That's why they work so well, you know, and you can kind of have that, you know, free come in kind of thing. And like the way that you guys do donations and stuff is really, really good as well, you know, like for us, it's unfortunately, and anybody that's tried to hold a you know, event at a club will tell you, you know, like you have to hire the place, you know, like, you know,
that's exactly it.
Unless you've got some sort of long-standing contract or anything like that, you are going to have to put in a little bit of money. And
or you've got like a history where it's like you can actually pull 600 people every single event kind of thing, like no matter what, 600 plus. And then they go, you know, you get a percentage of the bar or whatever it is kind of thing.
Well, like, look, to be honest, if you do it right, you can do it with little cost. I would say the first Restless cost us just shy of like $1,000, right?
Wow.
So that was like sound.
That's really
that
good.
included the voice system too.
Well, no, we didn't use the Void until later. We had different sound provider at the time.
I was about to say, hook us up with that guy.
From memory, the voice system's like $1,000 to hire itself, right?
It's pricey, it's pricey. But I mean, look, at the same time,
you pay for what you get at the end of the day.
That's it.
Honestly, yeah, and considering. Like, I shop around, obviously, and, like, you know, again, shout out to Good Karma. Like, Tez, great to deal with, and the Void sound system for what you're paying for, like, even, like, for the price that you're paying for it, well worth it. You'll pay the same amount for much less quality elsewhere, you know?
Can we pull up the Void sound system? So what makes it so good? Because everyone was raving on about the Function 1s for so long, and now this new Void sound system's in.
It is like, yeah, it's magic, eh? Like, you'll see it, yeah, Good Karma. There he is. Shout outs, Tez.
Surely they just have, like, some photos somewhere.
Yeah, he should have, like, his ad for it. But basically, it's like 2 standing subs, and they've got 2 tops, which they're like 3 separate. There you go, perfect. Look at that.
Wow. Okay.
Magic.
So what does it say, Mitch? So three-way fiberglass what? Composite sculpted loudspeakers.
2 times 3-way fiberglass composite sculpted loudspeakers. The Stasis X-Air, 2 high output, double 18-inch horn-loaded low-frequency enclosures.
18-inch subs.
A bias Q5 and D1, reliable premium tour-grade digital amplification. Pre-Sonos Studio Live 16R Series 3, 18... Okay, you don't need to know that. And
all the extras.
This system is suitable for events of up to 500 people. Total 7,900 watts.
Holy shit. Well, and 139 decibels continuous.
And 145 peak.
All right, now can you look up how loud a fighter jet is? I'm pretty sure a fighter jet's like 125 or something.
Put it this way: apologies to the Alex Hotel because we got a noise complaint for our last event.
The cockpit of a fighter aircraft will be between 95 to 105 decibels.
Yeah, but what about standing outside though?
Yeah, they look, and when we set them up, they're all limited. You know, they have a lot more power than what.
That's just going to have to wait because it would take.
No, go noise comparisons. That's the one. There's like a graph.
130 decibels.
Yeah, there you go. So it's louder than a fighter jet.
Mate,
130 decibels is a thunderclap.
It's always
jet takeoff at 25 meters is 150.
Okay, yep.
Aircraft carrier deck 140. Military jet aircraft takeoff from aircraft carrier with afterburner at 50 feet is 130.
Yeah, there you go. So it's louder than a military jet.
Thunderclap, chainsaw, and oxygen torch is 120.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got, and like that's the thing is obviously because we're using them, especially when they're outdoor. You know, you had to make sure they were all limited and stuff. But
yeah,
really, really epic sound system. You can actually, when you've got those 3 composite cones there, you can literally like stand next to them, and as you kind of move your ear to each one, they all have like
their own signature.
Yeah, like they have the low, mid, and the high
different frequencies. Yeah,
it's really fun.
That sounds awesome.
To buy something like that, you're looking at like 20k.
Those ones are
easily
custom made.
Yeah.
So
what did Ben CH say? Ben Sure?
So I'll read out his comment. Sorry, Ben. We will get to all the comments. We're getting to yours now. There's a lot of event organisers out there, but within a handful of months, you've pulled crowds that regular clubs would be envious of.
Oh, there you
What's
go.
your secret? Wink, wink. Hi, Zac.
Yeah. Well, look. Look, it just comes back down to the community, man. Like that's really all it is. It's just, you know, we've got good people around us, especially for the first one. We really kind of like pulled together. We're lucky now because we have got a bit more of a crowd that wasn't part of our regular crew in the beginning anyway. But to start off with, I mean, look, you know, even the like events like Movement, for instance, you know, started off with, you know, just their mates coming and stuff, and it just grew from there. You just
the same with seasons and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
you just got to be patient. I mean, look, also the other thing is, you know, look who you bring on. You know, like you really want to think about your DJs that you're attracting. It's really easy to sit there and just go, oh, I'm just going to play all my mates, you know, and yeah, that's great. Everybody gets to play, and you know, it might be cheaper because you're not paying them as much or at all. But when you're doing that, you get caught in that cycle of, hey, you've got the same roster and you're just going to go see the same ones. So what we really try and do with Restless is we always try and make it so that it's half of our crew. So we've got, you know, our rostered DJs that we like to use. We all have a similar sound. We all play kind of similar music, and then half of us and then half of guests. So we'll try and make these guests, you know, we'll group them together. For the one in January, we had Miss Holding. We had A&D, and we had Andrea, if you want to pull up that last one.
Andrea?
She is from The Groove.
Was this your last event?
Yeah, the most recent one. There
this one here.
And
and Ben Chi played that one earlier as well. So we picked those 3 later on. So based on the fact that, you know, those 3 played like a tribal kind of Afro kind of sound, and they played it perfectly well. You know, they infused a bit of minimal in there, but there was that real big chunk in the middle there which kind of took it on a bit of a different journey. So it's not just different DJs, but the actual sound of Restless can change as well, you know?
So how many DJs do you usually have in a lineup? Because I mean, so with that one, it's 2 p.m. to midnight. Yeah. But then, like, is that what you do every gig at the Wretched Bite around about 2 p.m.?
Well, it seems like they've changed every time. Like sometimes on the rooftop, sometimes in the basement.
Yeah, well, I mean, like on the basement's different because obviously they can only open. So they do 8 till 2 a.m.
Okay,
right. Yeah.
So that's what we call Restless by night. So we can know it's in a basement. It's at night time. It's on a Saturday.
Yeah.
For the by day ones, it is because it is more of that Sunday sesh. It's your, you know, Sunday afternoon party. So a lot of the time, you know, that kind of the early part, and this is why we're thinking,
feel that hole made by Nevermind.
Sorry?
Trying to feel that hole left by Nevermind.
You can't feel that hole. Rest in peace. But you know, like it's just at the moment that was one of the things. You know, what are we going to do? You know, and when this is definitely tying us over in the meantime, if not just keeping us busy on actually the planning side. But you know, it was for us being able to pull something together. You know, like really pull it back. And you know, as you were saying before, with the times and stuff, we're probably going to push it back to about 4. You know, we found that, you know, people kind of come out a little bit later, especially on a Sunday anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's if you go back to the very first like the Restless event, that has all of the DJs that we have on our roster. So shout out to all of these. No, the next one. That one, yeah.
I don't know why I have to open it in a new tab, but let's do that.
Doesn't want to play.
Because it's Instagram.
So that was our first one. Aris, Daniel, George, Leandro, Dave Samuel, Shroom, and myself.
Yeah, shout out to all those guys.
Shout out to the boys. That was the first one.
So this is what you would consider to be the crew.
this is what we call our Restless squad, you know. And yeah, shout out to Ali on the artwork, and yeah, we had Birdie for that one as well, doing the painting. And you know, like, it just goes back to that thing, you know. It's like a pride thing. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is going to be the biggest event, or this isn't going to be like gangbusters. But when you're sitting there, and especially after you put all of this time and effort into it, not knowing how it was going to go, and being able to stand back, look at all your mates around, and like all of these people that have come out, you're just like, that's what it was for, you know. Like, that's,
I can imagine it's like such a heartwarming feeling.
it is. It's wholesome, man. You know, it's really wholesome. And you know, like, especially like, and you know, getting into like a little bit of a sob story about, like, for me, like in primary school, like, man, I was bullied mercilessly.
Same.
Mercilessly.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it's really good that like being in an adult and having like that kind of like close knit community that wasn't almost there for you in school. You know, like, it's like, even if you're not close with people, and I'm sure a lot of people will have this in the scene as well, there's people that you're friends with Facebook on, or you only ever speak to when you're at the club and it's only ever 5 or 10 minutes. You might not speak during the week at all, but when you go there, like, you've got your community, you know, like, everybody's always out for hugs and everybody always wants to say hi. So.
Yeah. So how much preparation actually goes into these events as well? Like, do you start like a month before or 2 months before? Like
at the beginning, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I mean, goes back to the preparation, and as you're learning, you know, you kind of pick up on what you need to do. One of the things you said before was, you know, you do it, and then as you're doing it, you pick up on the things that you didn't actually, you forgot.
Yeah.
And we kind of just did that. So I've got like a big spreadsheet on like what we've paid for, and then, you know, like things that we added in, whether it was, you know, artwork or decorations. You know, sometimes it's just as small as lanterns and things like that. But for our January event, the one on the 9th, we put that out in 3 days. You know,
in
like
3 days, really? What, just like 3 days prior, you're like, let's throw an event and
Well,
message them.
yeah, basically it was the
That's pretty
I
cool.
didn't think
though.
you were being serious. Like,
no, it was yeah, literally, because we had the January one. So we had the January one booked and ready to go, but then when we got the offer for the New Year's one, we put everything down and we were like, we got to make New Year's big, you know, it's New Year's Eve, right? So we like did put everything into that, worked as hard as we could on it, and then once that got pulled, we were like, look, we can sit here and complain about it, or we can just move on to the next one. So like when I say 3 days, I mean, it went 3 days from, hey, we're going to put this event on, to it was ready on Facebook and ready to go.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Marty James Smith just popped into the chat. Says, "Yeah, Zach, hit it up hard, mate.
Nice one, Marty. Thank
Yeah,
you.
hit it up hard, mate.
Hit it up." And Jackson Mead's in the chat too. Welcome, guys.
That was
Welcome to the chat.
look at that.
star emoji, yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Heaps of Albany crew.
Thanks for
rolling
letting us
through.
know
Look
you're
at that.
there.
I got to ask as well. So you've got an owl on your logo. Where did the owl come from?
Restless. So that's what I got. Yeah, it was. Look, to be honest, man, the very original idea for us with Restless was actually inspired by, I don't know if you know, in Melbourne at Club 161, they have an event called Breakfast Club.
Okay.
And it opens at like 8 AM on a Monday, right?
Really?
Yeah.
When I went there, I couldn't find shit like that.
This place is intense. Trust me.
That sounds awesome.
And like even you know, without saying that photo before, where I took that photo at Storyville, you know, that's the same thing. Storyville opens at 5 AM on a Sunday. Intense.
At
you know?
5 AM on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we went to Melbourne, we were like, For Jack, the guy that I was mates with, he went over there. He was doing like a tour. He did Queensland, Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne.
Fuck yeah.
And I joined him in Melbourne. And yeah, we like went to like, you know, Tramp and
That's
did
a
all
sick
this.
photo. Is this the club you're talking about?
That I believe is the upstairs area.
That is so cool. I really want to
It's
go
crazy,
there.
man. They walk around with like platters of fruit and stuff, you know? And that was another thing. Like, it's, yeah, pretty full on, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, there you go. So, like, you're lining up to get in this club at 8 AM and there's people going out for breakfast.
And what, is it on Chapel Street?
It's in Paran. I'm not sure
Okay.
about... Oh, mate, yeah, that was a
I'm just going through
intense
their photos
weekend.
at the moment, but yeah, it's on Chapel Street.
Yeah, it looks like it's Chapel Street.
Yeah. So yeah, I was only there for that once, but I mean, so that's originally what we wanted to do. We wanted to kind of have like a kick-on event that started early in the morning, gave people a place to go to, even though it would still be house. We were kind of thinking to capture everybody, you know, and in Perth, everything closes at 5 a.m. and then everybody's out on the street and going home, you know. There was like a venue that we were looking at back in the day, which was actually a cafe, and they were going to do like a lock-in style with us. Yeah, so basically, yeah. So it was like, you know, you come in, you could start it at 3 a.m. It was BYO, because obviously they're a cafe, they can't sell anything, and then they would just let us set up, and basically the cafe was inside a house, so it was like, it would be like a house party, right? So it would be like a licensed kick-on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to do it that way, so that's where we got the owl from, you know, like up all night, kind of restless as it goes on. So, you know, we kind of just rolled with that, and really lucky again. Like shout out to Ali for all of our graphic design. She's really pulled together well on all of it. You know, for all of our artwork, logos, stickers. You know,
does she have like a Facebook page or anything that we can plug?
Ali Trutwin is.
Ali, if you're watching, help us out.
Yeah, shout us out. Otherwise, yeah, she's
Ali, what's her last name? Sorry.
Trut. I'm gonna butcher her last name if I say it. So it's Trutwein.
Trutwin?
There you go. Designed by Ali. There you
designed
go.
by Trutwin.
Yeah,
First
there
one.
you go. That first one.
First one. Yeah. There you go.
There you go. So
Yes,
yeah,
if
she
you
did
want-
all of that. So yeah, you know, she's been great, and you know, for her as well, that was one of those things where she's starting out as well. So you know, we got everything together and kind of got that. So we're trying to like run a few different themes, but you know, this is the other thing with all of you know, as you said, with the preparation and stuff, it's just kind of learning as you go, you grow as you go, trying to. Yeah, there you go. Make t-shirts and sweaters.
There you go.
that's next. It's coming. Don't worry about that one.
Yeah. After that comment, now it's happening.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah.
Buy a Soon shirt first.
Well, more and more people are doing it, and you know, merch is a good thing, especially you know, like if you can get good quality stuff, people want that. You know, I've got shout out to our Hush Hush mates. They've, you know, got an event that they do like bush stuffs and things like that. Got bucket hats coming from them. You know, it's
nice.
Even for me, you know, I've always been like wearing a movement shirt now. Most people will know that most of my clothes are either like Nevermind or movement clothes. You know, like,
I've always referenced you as the Nevermind guy because you're always wearing a Nevermind t-shirt. So.
Well, yeah, I've like even when I was back into like Aussie rap and stuff. I mean, look, this jumper that I've got here is, I'm not going to pull it up, but like fallen to pieces. But that's a rapper from Perth, you know, and I bought it at his show like 10 years ago. So it's always been for me like I've always been really focused on that local. I guess local talent, local inspiration.
Well, that's another good way of funding Restless is having a merch store of some sort. Could be a nice little cash earner, especially if you team up with some Perth-based high quality shirt
so
designer.
You know, you catch it on.
Yeah. If anybody knows in the chat, you know who to hit up.
Right?
Would you ever consider as well, once the borders open and like people start getting like guests back in from over east or international, would you ever branch out to do anything like that?
Most definitely. I mean, look, obviously everybody always wants to attract some big name, you know. If you can get them interstate or an international, you're always going to want to bring them in. I think for us, my mentality, especially with the uncertainty of COVID at the moment, is like just kind of that feeling of march on, right? Like if it gets cancelled, it's going to get cancelled. Like, you're still going to lose money, or you're still going to lose out if your event does get cancelled. But at the end of the day, like you're going to lose out a lot more if it doesn't get cancelled. And then, you know, obviously even with the New Year's Eve thing, we were really concerned, you know, like, oh, is it going to go ahead? Is it not? And I was like, but what if it does? Like, what if it does go ahead? Then, you know, obviously you want to be there at the forefront. You just got to kind of like march. So at the moment, we're really focusing on, you know, like local names, bringing up like, you know, people from other events or people that haven't really had like chance to DJ much, you know. So here we go, Vortex. Obviously,
you've been given an offer here by Jackson. He says he's happy to collab to build your artwork.
Nice.
And then he's given you his IG. He's dropped into the
Can we pull
DMs.
that
Well,
up?
it's not a DM.
Yeah.
I tried to. I couldn't find it. So
Jackson, help us out.
So,
help us
Send
out
it-
with the IG.
Send the URL.
Send him a message afterwards.
Yeah.
And get in touch, so. But yeah, we really wanted to, you know, do that where we are building. I don't think there is that, like I said at the start, and I can't say it enough. I don't think there is enough cooperation. I feel like there really could be more. You know, like there's everybody wants a good, inclusive scene. You know, and I feel like especially like, you know, there's a whole other debacle, but there's a lot of like virtue signaling and saying that you're doing it, but like, are you really? You know, like I think that people can look outside a little bit more and not just think, oh, they're weird, or, you know, they're not in my circle, they're not my friends. You know, like there's been people that I've seen have like, you know, DJs that have got really big names for themselves and play really big like events and stuff, and then you see them play and you're like, what is going on here? And then on the flip side, you see people that have never had a gig in their life, and you're like, how is that possible?
Yeah,
You're
how they not been
given
given heaps of gigs and
you know,
stuff.
yeah, exactly.
That's it. Like it's so hectic, but it's one of those things with the DJ industry where it's like you have to be a graphic designer, online advertiser, marketer, guru kind of thing. You know, like social media influencer, this and that. You don't have to be, but it's like, you know, if you, it's unfortunate to say, but it's like, you know, if you want to like get big gigs almost, sometimes it's like that can fall into it.
Yeah,
you don't have to, but like it can help out if you have that profile online.
100%. And it does kind of take like, it also I think ties into kind of what kind of route you're also trying to take.
Exactly.
You know? Like, I guess with Restless, the good thing is because honing in on that Perth sound, or like, you know, that Perth scene is part of the brand. So like, you know, in that sense, we can kind of stay small, we can focus on our locals and stuff like that, and then, you know, use that as a platform to lift people up. But at the same time, as I said before, like if you're doing something, you want to do it with purpose. You want to make sure that it has a goal.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, even though, you know, we've got all these things in our way, we got COVID and stuff like that, even with Restless, there is still it's the same thing with me with DJing. It's not necessarily this is my goal, it's how far can I push this, you know. Like, and I'm even with DJing, I'm going to continue to do that as much as I can, you know. Like, it's not necessarily, oh, I want to do this or I want to achieve this. I think out of when I first started DJing, I set myself a little list of goals, right, of like what I wanted to achieve. Most of those I have already achieved, you know, things like playing back to back with one of my mates at Movement, things like playing for, you know, playing for Geisha and stuff, just small goals, you know. The only one that I haven't achieved so far is earning enough money to buy my ounce of gold back, you know. But then again, the money that I have made from DJing was put into Restless. So,
Still haven't earned back the capital.
No, not at all. But you know, that's honestly, I don't think I've ever, like, for bar gigs and stuff, like, you know, that's where I make the money when it comes to DJing, right? Like, you play those bar gigs, you're just background noise, you know, you're just kind of giving people something to do in the background. Like, when it comes to like the clubbing side of things, for me, like, it really is like, I'm more, even still now, 2.5 years in, still happy to be paid in exposure, just because like I just genuinely want to do that. I want to be a part of it. You know? It's
just how much fun it is and the feeling behind it, and just like
you
getting
always have
people
that
to dance.
conversation though about setting a precedent though, because we always have these arguments about musical acts being underpaid and stuff like that. I think the government actually came out and suggested the minimum wage for a musical act should be $250.
For how long?
But it doesn't matter. That's the minimum they should be paid, $250. That's what the government recommended.
I'm about to be raising my invoices.
Holy shit.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I don't think a lot of DJs, especially...
there are certain venues out there, like say the art group, right, is a minimum of 3 hours. And so at 80 an hour...
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, it's 80 an hour.
But minimum of 3 hours.
A lot of the bigger international DJs don't charge by hour.
Yeah, that's
They just give a flat rate.
Yeah.
And that's it. So,
and look, going back to what you said as well with the interstates and stuff, that's another thing that you need to consider. I mean, like, you know, for us, like, you know, I'm not here to hide it or anything, but like, we're not making money from this, you know. For us, it really is trying to build more of a community, trying to build a brand, you know, and like with... You, as much as it is a party and as much as you do like love it, and you still kind of have to treat it as a business because there is money going into it.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Like I said before, you can start the event with $1,000, but like, how much are you going to make back, and how much are you going to use to propel that forward? You know, like, it's been one of those things where every single dollar we've made has gone straight back into it. You know, because everyone says you don't make any money on your first year, you know, so it really does have to be. And I will say this to anybody thinking about starting an event, like, unless you've got something already that is going to guarantee you like a huge amount of crowd, like, you know, you play a mainstream kind of sound or something like that, like, you got to be ready to lose, you know. You are going to lose, and there are going to be events. We've even had events where, you know, we haven't quite made the capacity and stuff like that, but you know, you can still see even in the 4 events that we have held, you're getting those regulars, you're getting those people that are like, hey, I like what you're doing, I'm going to come back for this, and I am going to support you when you do a different stage or you do it at a different club or a different venue.
That's it. But like, not to name festivals as well, but a few festivals in Perth are very similar, where they'll actually take a loan out on January 1st and they'll pay off last year's, so they'll have an event, right? And then what they'll do is like on January 1st or whenever, they'll take a loan out to pay off last year's event. No, I think it would. No. So take a loan out and they'll pay for this year's event, right? And then all the money they make at the end of the year or for whenever that event is, and they'll pay off that loan and then take another loan out. Yeah. But it's a business. It's just never-ending cycle of debt almost.
Well, I was very lucky in the sense that, you know, getting the Frisk gigs, you know, like I play at Frisk Small Bar quite regularly. I'll be there this weekend, actually. But, you know, playing for there, you know, like I said, those bar gigs, that's where that money comes. Exactly, and I was very lucky to get enough of it where, you know, I could have that money sitting there ready to go. So, you know, if you put enough work into it, then this is the reward that I've got. Now I have the opportunity to give other people a platform, give, you know, people a chance to DJ themselves, you know, because for me, it was a big thing, you know. The first, I remember, like, and one more shout out to Aaron, you know, like A&D, he was the first person that ever got my name on a poster, you know.
Really?
Came back and did Pilot Friends Edition. So yeah, I don't know, they all had to go off for a wedding somewhere, so they got a couple of others in, and, you know, I was put up for that, and, like, you know, I've still got that poster up in my room, you know. Like,
well, that's exactly it. A lot of people would do that because it's the memory behind it, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be like, you know, it's not this big thing that I walk around going, oh, you know, I'm a DJ and stuff like that. But as someone who spent a large portion of my life sitting around doing absolutely nothing, like, I can now look back and I can go, look, I've got a hobby that, you know, isn't just like, come check out my Fallout world, you know. You know, I've actually got something that I've built, you know. I can show that, even if it's just the SoundCloud mixes, you know. I've got something that I can look back on, and even if it ends this year, like, there's photos, there's events,
it's the memories,
Alex, we're nearing our 5-minute mark. So
I know. I was going to say, so yeah, well, we've got 5 minutes left. Just quickly, Tristan Imana. Yeah, our ring ding ding ding.
Ring a ding ding. It's the king.
Nice. Thanks, Tristan, for the comment.
Yeah, nice for Tristan. Yeah, another
Jackson
one
gave us his
boys.
full
the
IG as well. That's this one here.
Yep.
Very nice.
That's pretty cool.
Very nice. There you go. A lot of Albany boys creeping through. And this is the thing, man. Like, coming from that lifestyle where there isn't much going on, you know, pulling myself out of it, seeing other people that have pulled themselves out of it as well. It's really, really good to see what people have done with themselves. I mean, look, Jackson's a perfect example. It's not even a name that I've heard in years, so shout out to Jackson again. But, like, it's, you know, coming back and being like, I remember this person, and now he's doing something where he is, you know, being able to be artistic, he is being able to be creative, and, you know, doing something with it. You know, it's a good thing, and I think people need to be more open or more receptive to that, be more happy for people. You know, it doesn't have to be a big competition.
It's a really good way to put it. Like, that's almost like an ending thing, right?
I get, like I said, man, I get, there's no pleasure more in life than being able to show someone for the first time they jump on the decks, and then watching them for the first time when they drop that song perfectly.
I definitely think it's about sharing your passions as well.
Exactly. I mean,
even if you don't, like, DJ out in clubs, or, like, you shouldn't start with that intention that you're going to make it a career. I think it's a great hobby. It's just something, like, you can jam in your bedroom too, and you can go out and buy a cheap $200-300 decks and do that if you want to. So,
or even just house parties. Just jump on at house parties and have a bit of fun. Yeah. And then, like, you know, if the pieces fall together and the puzzle starts forming, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm playing pubs and bars and stuff like that.
100%.
Because that's like what happened with me. I used to just do house parties in Bustleton. I'd literally say, give me $50 and a carton of beer and I'll come DJ for you.
100%.
And, like, I just go rock up and just try and mix, and it wasn't that good at all. But then just to manage to fall in the right place at the right time, and then now I'm doing something else, but for the last 5 years, it's just DJing. That's all I did.
All I'll say to people, man, is just try. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you might not like it. Like, you might not love it, but I mean, everybody loves music, right?
That's
like,
exactly
how much better, how good is that feeling when you show someone a song and they're like, yeah, I really, really like this song, you know? Like, just imagine making them dance with that song.
That's exactly it. That's what I always say. It's like, look, I have to play ABBA every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but getting girls to dance and have a great time and make memories and do this and do that, I don't care if I have to play that. Because even though it's like every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, gimme, man after midnight, but the thing is though, it's like they're having fun, so that's what matters.
There's a clip of me playing my first set at Geisha, and like, the song that I'm playing, I'm not even going to shout it out, horrible. But at the end of the day, it was like one of those ones, everybody knew it, everybody jumped and screamed, and like still to this day, I could still remember the chills that like swept over you when you're just like, wow, I just did that, you know? And I'd never played to people before in my life, and it was just like, wow, this is what I want to do, you know? And again, I'm not sitting there going like, oh, I want to be this big famous DJ, but like, I have something to give back now, you know? Like, I'm not just sitting in the corner being another person security has to clean out, you know? Like, I'm giving back, and I can do something with that.
Well, shout out to Dan Leach, Ben, and Tim Jackson. Thank you for dropping in. Dan says, shout out to Dick Bong.
Well, my birthday present was very phallic shaped, let's put it that way.
Marco just popped in and said, get the SYZZ remix of Gimme 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 and make it. And I'll make it playing it slightly better.
I'll have to look that up. As long as the girls get down to it, I guess
that sounds like
matters.
an after podcast activity, you know?
Yeah, you guys should do like a Patreon, you know, like after episode.
Oh yeah, pay us, bitches. Give us money.
Or, you know, or if you want to sponsor us, we'd love some sponsors. Like check out a nice found molly bag that doesn't exist anymore. Like,
they could just see it in frame.
And Drama's Nun, who gave us a few shirts. Anything's anything. Like, I'll hide it. No, not hide it. I'll put it up so everyone can see it.
All right, Alex, sign us off.
That's it, yep. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This has
More
been,
than welcome.
I feel like after a fortnight of, you know, coming back and being nervous, this has been good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I wasn't the only one. So yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, look, like I said, I'd really love to get the opportunity to come back once we get
100%.
a few more Restless events under the belt, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and we'll get the other guy on as well.
Yeah, I'll bring Dan with me 100%. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I wouldn't have been able to do it without him, you know, so it's very much...
There you go, Dan, if you're hearing that.
Brothers for life. Let's go.
So what's next for WHYZE and Restless? Tell us where people can find you and what's coming up next.
All good. So yeah, look, obviously for Instagram, I got WHYZE_music, WHYZE. Make sure I spelled that right. Restless is Restless, just the word, .per for Perth. It should be the same on Facebook as well. Look, you can catch me playing at Frisk quite regularly. Otherwise, we're just waiting to lock in a few more dates. We do have a couple in the works for Restless. So
keep your ear on the ground.
Keep your ear very close, and stay tuned, because it could be within the next, I would say, 6 weeks.
Oof. 6 weeks. Oof.
Let's hope so, right? Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, because we have a Project Bex on tomorrow night.
Very nice.
You can chat with Bex.
Shout out to Bex.
We're going to have a chat with her again. Well, she came on maybe last year or the year before, I think.
I think it's over a year now.
Yeah, it's over a year. But like,
if I put it on just behind Zac, that you can see on the screen, Bex's logo is like just in the right hand corner.
Yep.
Down there.
Yeah.
She has been there.
It's just on screen.
Yeah, on the season 1 board. That was just kind of like a cardboard cutout.
There you go. I've made it to season 2. Very nice.
Yeah. All right. So we will see you guys tomorrow night. All right. So catch ya.
Thank you.